If you hear loud banging and clanging in the distance, one of my neighbors is getting his roof fixed, and these guys have been at it all morning. It wasn't too bad, once you understand that the world doesn't revolve around you. New World is a game that I've played for 134 hours, so I can talk about it a bit. I can't really talk about end game stuff or the intricacies of the professions, right? Like the crafting, the weaponsmithing, jewel crafting, and tracking and skinning and all that good stuff. I can't get into details on that because I normally don't do that in video games. And 134 hours for an MMO is baby numbers. You know what I mean? I didn't even scratch the surface. But normally speaking, like any other game, you play for over 100 hours. You've already finished it, unless you're like perfecting it, or just going on a collectathon. You know, exploring all the nooks and crannies of every place and getting all the little thingies that you need to collect. I thoroughly enjoy this game. I remember the queue problem. That's one of the biggest problems, as well as the supposedly New World bricking GPUs. That was a thing too. I forgot about. I actually completely forgot about the whole New World and destroying PCs thing until I reread an article before I started recording this. That's when I was like, oh shit, that was a thing. I'll talk about that in a bit if I can fucking remember it. I do trail off. But what was the first thing that I wanted to talk about? Just named it and forgot about it. Oh, well, whatever. 134 hours is good enough time for you to get a hell of a sense of any game, and even an MMO, although MMO standards, it's nowhere near enough to judge the game as a whole. Like I said earlier, especially with end game content, and I don't do PvP. Not 100% opposed to, but usually when I play MMOs, I'm always concentrating on PvE stuff or any other game really. But I'll dibble and dabble and in the PvP front, and I think I've done it maybe a few times in New World, and I'm a terrible person to judge any PvP type game. Competitive shooters, any type of game. I'm just not too. I'm not the guy you should go to about that. It's funny because it's like right now the general consensus of New World is exactly that, that it's a general game. It's no one really said New World was bad, but no one really said that New World was breathtaking. It's like an average MMO. Like it's good, but some people will say there are other things that you should spend your time on, other better MMOs, and there's a hell of a lot of them out there. As we speak, Diablo 4 dropped today, which that's shit. When I hear this years from now, I know I'm gonna age the hell out of this particular episode. But I'm excited to play that. The $75 price tag thing is kind of weird for me. Like I know that more and more games have been doing that, and that is going to be the new norm, whether we like it or not. Although new games also that dropped around the same time as Diablo 4 did not do the $75 price tag thing. Like Street Fighter 6, for example, that's $60 at least for the standard edition. That's what I'm talking about. The Ultimate Edition and all that extra shit. That's always going to run you more, regardless. But yeah, it's kind of weird to see a standard version for 75. I'm like, that's I say 75 because I'm including taxes. You know what I mean? It's really 69.99 if you want to get super technical about it. I got into a slight argument with a friend one time because he said 9.99 is not $10. 9.99 is 9.99. And I was trying to I was like, yeah, like literally 9.99 is 9.99. But when people see 9.99, they think $10. Like, what are we doing here? Like, so like if you went up to a lady and you bought or a guy, whoever's in the fucking store, and you bought an item that's 9.99 and you gave him $10, do you expect that penny back? Will you stay there until she gives you the penny back? You know, I don't know. Whatever. that's going to be the standard. $75 all across the board for video games. That's just something that's coming whether we like it or not. New World came out, I remember, it wasn't even $60. I think it was like $40 when it first came out, which I thought was a bang for your buck. You get an entire MMO that was pretty feature rich. Yeah, it was an I wouldn't say it was the most jam-packed MMO. Of course, no MMO is going to be super jam-packed when it first releases, right? Like all the good shit usually comes as years go by. Look at World of Warcraft or good shit. If I start naming MMOs now, I'll be here forever. But there's so many ESO. There's so many that the juicy shit came out years after the game originally released, and I feel like that's New World's trajectory too. That's its path. I do believe that it's a game that's not going to go away anytime soon. So for you to invest hundreds of hours into it, even thousands, although I would definitely have to question it, like, "Ew, go outside a little bit, brother." But you can definitely invest hundreds of hours with a peace of mind because it's backed by Amazon. Amazon has quite possibly the deepest pockets of any company that is existing now and possibly ever existed. I'm no fucking economist or anything, so I wouldn't know, but I do know that Amazon is filthy rich. I played it recently, maybe for about 7 hours, but before that, I remember when it first came out, it was the long queue lines. I think that was originally the first thing I was supposed to talk about. That was a hassle, but I don't know. I guess I'm just way more understanding than some people. Like, I hate it because that sounds like I'm always playing devil's advocate, right? Like, yes, I understand that the game was so popular when it first dropped that everyone wanted to play it at the same time, so it's going to cause some issues with logging in, and you're going to have to wait sometimes an excruciatingly long time for you to get your turn. I don't know why I understood that. In my mind, I was like, yeah, okay. It sucked, don't get me wrong, because I would come home from work and I would have some friends lined up that want to play it. And we had to wait an hour and a half, sometimes even longer to just queue in. Sometimes my girlfriend would, if she's off, she would stay at my place, it'll be like 8 o'clock. I get out usually around 10 at night. At that time when I was working at that job, and it'll be like 8 o'clock at night, and I'll be like, "Hey, start my new world now. That way, when I get home, I'll be able to like log in one of the queues." I wish I was joking, but that's genuinely the truth. I remember that, I'm understanding on that front, but I also understand how someone can be like, hey, I paid money for a product that I would like to play now. These server issues, y'all need to fucking fix that. I get that too. I get how you would be upset because you want to get into the game. You don't have to worry about any server issues. I don't know the history of other popular MMOs that had the same issue where you had to wait hours to log in. Um, I haven't done the history on that. Maybe I'm sure there's someone out there who's listening that can think like, oh, this happened with this game too. I don't know if this is a normal thing all across the board, but I don't know. Once again, I can't really give you my opinion on that because it sucked some days. I was like, oh, that blows, and I'll just sit around and watch YouTube videos with her, my girl or whatever, while I'm waiting for the queue to jump on. She would do the same on her computer. She would have her computer open and then she'll get on her queue and then we'll just wait till we both are in the world. Sometimes it takes hours, 2 hours, hour and a half. I remember it being quite a while. We'll watch a movie, watch some YouTube, whatever. That was a hassle, so I get why people would be upset about that. The other one was the whole supposedly, I think it was RTX 3090. If you had it in NVIDIA 3090, supposedly it would brick your game. And this is like I read about this and there's no definitive answer. You can't say that New World bricked your. I mean, you could say that to be an asshole. You could be dishonest, you know, or maybe it really did happen to you, And if it did happen to you, there obviously this has not happened to a lot of people. This is a very like rare problem. But even to the few people that it has happened to, it, nothing has really there's no concrete evidence of that particular game, which is New World, actually destroying your card or someone's card. At least from what I read, I'm pretty sure there's someone out there. If there's someone out there who had New World running and it destroyed their card, my bad, dude. That fucking sucks, man. And I hope that Amazon gave you money back. You know what I mean? Like that blows because that is so rare, and for it to happen, especially to an expensive ass card, at least at the time, the 3090, I don't was expensive. I'm sure it's still worth something now, but not as much as it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2021, whenever it came out. But that was never really. There's no real evidence. I heard something about Amazon putting out a statement saying that if they can prove that New World has bricked your card, they would give you a refund. But how can you prove that? You know what I mean? It got a little muddy or whatever. So other than that, I don't remember seeing any harsh criticisms against New World besides the fact that it's a pretty average game. Like it's got all the classic MMO tropes. You've got the matchmaking, the dungeons, the PvP battles, and territory control. All this has been done before. But one thing that I would say, and honestly, the saving grace for me with New World is the combat. I fucking love the combat. Now, I I wouldn't say these are gripes that I'm about to say, but more like observations. Like when I first played New World, when it first dropped in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, I remember the combat being more technical. It was not a button masher. You just cannot run up to an enemy and just press random buttons. I mean, you can, but you're going to take damage or you're going to die. You've got to hit, you got to be a little strategic. I wouldn't say Dark Souls level strategic, but I would say something close to it, like a Dark Souls light. You do have to dodge or block and wait your turn to hit, and I like that. It's kind of methodical, and I wish that more games, not only especially this especially goes out to MMOs. I wish more games focused on their combat that intensely to make the combat juicy and fun, and understand that like with any game that's an action game, whether it's a shooter, whether it's a hack and slash, the number one thing you are going to be doing the most is combat. You cannot progress throughout the game unless you fight something or someone. So it's like if you are going to do that repeatedly for hundreds of hours, possibly thousands for some people, you got to make sure that that combat formula is airtight, right? I think of a game like Ghost of Tsushima. I remember reading something online about how the editors, sorry, editors, not the editors, the developers scrapped several combat systems because they wanted to perfect the combat for Ghost of Tsushima. So they already made a combat system, scrapped that because they didn't feel like that was up to par, made another one, scrapped that, then they didn't feel that one was up to par until they perfected the formula. And if you played Ghost of Tsushima, that game is fucking great. That is a great game. And what makes that game great, it's many things, storytelling, the graphics, the pacing of the game, the exploration. But for me, the combat is something that always stood at the top of the pile. Like I remember playing this game, I'm like, God damn, all I want to do is fight. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to just like I just wanted to fight. I wanted to just get on my horse, travel to some fucking area, and just fight. Just do some stealth shit. I always start off with stealth shit, kill 3 or 4 people stealth wise, and then I hope that they see me. That way I can just go ape shit inside of a little village and murder everyone. But that was I don't get that giddy with New World, but I do get something close to it, especially when I compare it to other MMOs, right? Other MMOs just don't have that type of combat system, this realistic strategic combat system that I really love. And I understand this is, I know I'm not the only one that feels like this. I know that for sure, but I know there's other people who don't feel this way, right? Like people who enjoy ESO's combat. I love ESO. ESO is always going to be a game that I'm always going to have lying around somewhere and I'm always going to go back to, even if it's not after a year or two. I always go back to ESO. ESO's combat is just not the same when it comes to, I don't know, just the blocking and being strategic. And you can literally have, I forgot what they called them back then because it's been a while since I played ESO. Probably been a good 2 years. But they were called patterns or rotations. I think they were called rotations where you literally just press, if you're on a controller, I was playing on console at the time, you literally just press a sequence of buttons and then you would unleash all of your powers, your abilities, and then without even looking, you can just literally memorize these patterns with your fingers, and you would have a special rotation that can wipe out ads and even bosses. And I was like, that's crazy because it's like you're on autopilot. You're not even fully enjoying the combat or the moment. You're not dodging, you're not reacting. You're just sitting there, just pressing buttons, mindlessly. I had a huge problem with that. And I do feel like ESO's combat is largely outdated. It's very floaty. It's I don't know. It feels old. I still love the atmosphere. I still love the world. I still love the game in general. But like when it comes to the combat of New World and it comes to the combat of ESO, I think New World trumps that. I think New World trumps lots of other games when it comes to combat, especially once again, emphasis on MMOs. Of course, I don't know if now if you want to talk about deepness and richness, like maybe ESO has New World down on that, right? When it comes to like, classes. Got like they just released a new class recently. God damn it, was it Arcanus? I don't know, is it this Necron pack for I should have memorized that. But yeah, they got mad classes which, add different dynamics and systems and AoE attacks and all that. Like you can set up some crazy shit that'll drain somebody's life in a heartbeat, and when it comes to complexity, yeah, sure, I would say ESO has it down pat. But I think when it comes to fun and reactivity and actual the way combat's supposed to be, I think New World has it down pat. So I don't know if that made any sense. Probably didn't to a lot of people, but I'm just a huge fan of games that like require you to think. I like parrying, I like dodging, I don't like just sitting there and button mashing. That's why I'm not a big tab target guy. You know, at one point I was thinking about getting into World of Warcraft, which is normally not the type of game I play. Not only because aesthetically it just looks I don't like the way it looks. It looks very childish and every fucking dwarf is colorful and fucking purple and they all wear this clunky armor that looks like it's made out of that fucking same material that cosplayers use. Like it's a very weird aesthetic that lots of video games are copying. If you were more new school, you would say like Fortnite. It's like Fortnite. It looks like Fortnite, which it kind of, Fortnite does have this certain aesthetic that lots of video games are copying, and that's because Fortnite's making fucking bank. So, they companies want their game to prosper, so of course they're going to take large chunks of inspiration from successful games and add it to theirs. And unfortunately, what that does in the long run is just makes a gang of video games that all look alike, and there's no creativity and it's like a soulless cash machine. There you go. Smile for that one. That sounded very hopeful for the video game industry. I wish that I was that guy. Like I always tell myself every time I play a game like New World or even single player games like Skyrim, oh, I'm gonna get into a profession that I normally don't do. Shit that I normally avoid. Like I run around and I'll pick anything. I will fucking go out of my way to pick that dandelion next to the fucking crack of a cliff and risk a life just to grab a dandelion that I'm never going to do nothing with because I don't even do alchemy shit. That's the way my mind is. I just like go get it. Well, I'm doing it now, as a matter of fact, in Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda. Like I'm going out of my way to pick up all of these crazy mushrooms and fucking things that are hanging off the side of cliffs, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do anything with that, dude, because I don't do the alchemy thing. But I keep telling myself, eventually I will get into one of these professions. I'm telling myself that now while I'm completely lying to myself with Tears in the Kingdom, and I'm also lying to myself right now playing New World saying that too. I've got all this shit that I'm collecting, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking do anything with this, dude. I just want to hit people in the face with a hatchet, repeatedly, and I'm gonna do that for hours. I can't. Me and my friend were recently playing this. We just got right back into it like maybe 2 days ago, and we dropped about 7 hours on it on top of like the 120 something hours we dropped when it originally came out. And we were having fun, and we kept asking ourselves like, why did we stop playing? You know what I mean? Like, did another game come out? Did we get kind of bored of it? We can't come out with a concrete answer, but I just know that we're looking forward to this game every time we play it now. And I'm like, wow, this game is fun. I was gonna say earlier, I don't know why I just remembered when it came to the combat. Going back to that, I remember when I first originally played it, it was more Dark Souls like. It was methodical, and it still is now when I play, but I just feel like it's a lot more easier. Like I'm running through enemies a lot more quicker now. Like I feel like they're dying pretty quick, and like it kind of doesn't matter if you are dodging or blocking because you could just powerhouse enemies and kill them. Now, maybe it's because I'm dumping all of my points into the right sections, right? Because I'm doing like a hatchet build, and I believe in order for you to increase the damage potential of a hatchet, you need what's that word? Dexterity, I believe. So I've been kind of, just dumping man points on that. So I don't know if it's just me, but I'm running through them and I'm like, I don't feel like I have to be as methodical if I'm just like 90% of the enemies that I'm fighting, including bosses, you can just fucking run up on them and just bat, 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 hit them with fucking with hatchet blows. Or like I'm also building my bow at the same time. So I'm like hitting them with the bow and I'm taking a lot of damage with that too. And I'm like, I don't remember it being easy, like this easy. Like it wasn't the hardest game back then, but I remember going like there was plenty of times where I died or I was close to death, and it was kind of like an exhilarating battle. But I haven't got that yet in the 7 hours that I'm playing. And of course, 7 hours once again is nothing in the grand scale. In the that is a droplet in an ocean of an MMO, you know. So maybe as time goes on, I have got my ass handed to me, or almost got my ass handed to me, and I was on very low health. But that's when I got ganged up by like three dudes. That sounded weird. Don't take that out of context. But it was like three guys that just beating the shit out of me, and I was dying. But I was like, damn, it took that for me to get to this state of like, oh, I really got to start utilizing my dodges more and my blocks more instead of just running up on them and just going hard. It's weird. I know some new shit dropped recently. I wish I can tell you what it was. I know it's some DLC, and it was like a big DLC for it. I don't know what it is. I know there's something that involves Spriggans. I don't know if that's just an event, like a timed event, or that's something that's like been permanently added to the game. I was like, okay, that's cool. I don't think I'm gonna get there anytime soon because I'm like level 16, level 17, because I'm starting a brand new character. My last character was like level 35, level 36, and I'm just leaving that character in limbo while I'm playing with this new one. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm running around reading all the lore, how they come up with excuses as to why they can't have mounts. I don't care about them. I honestly, once again, here, I'm always the guy. I'm always the guy that like goes against the grain, whether I do it on purpose or whether I don't. Like mounts is not a big deal to me. I know for some people it's like I need fucking mounts. This is a huge world. I need to travel from A to B. I'm with you, bro. I got you. Makes sense to me. They should have mounts. But me, even in like Tears of the Kingdom, which is my single player project, my single player project, I usually have a game that I play single player, and then a game that I usually play with friends at night that's multiplayer. Sometimes it's MMO, sometimes it's other games. What was I saying originally? Oh, even in Tears of the Kingdom, I don't really mess with the horse like that. That whole system, I'm running everywhere. I'm fucking just depleting the shit out of my stamina, waiting until it fills up, and then just running and I'm running everywhere, all across fucking Hyrule and chasms and sky castles and shit. I'm just running. I'm not using the horse. So I'm not a big mount guy, but I can see how some people would argue against not having mounts. That is a weird move for an MMO. Maybe that'll be something that will happen and come in the future. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Graphically, the game's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful MMOs out there. I'm hearing Black Desert Online is the most beautiful MMO, and I'm like, maybe they're right because even on mobile, that shit looks great. And yes, I played it on mobile. And I never fucking play mobile games, but I remember it looking amazing then. I was like, my phone wasn't even that great. Maybe it was a tiny screen. I don't know, but it looked great. The game looks fucking great. New World. I can't speak too much on the end game mechanics, but the combat system is great. The leveling system is pretty straightforward. You whatever weapon you use, you level up, which I like a lot. It almost makes you feel like, damn, I want to kind of level everything up and then just kind of have my pick of the litter of what my favorite build would be. You got heavy, light armor. Like I said, this game, I'm sorry if I don't think, maybe I'm wrong because I haven't played this game recently, but there's nothing about this game that jumps out as original, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I don't mean that in an offensive way. Like there is nothing. It takes everything that MMOs have already done. They compiled it into one game called New World, added their own personal aesthetics to it, and just did them well. So you can't call the game bad. No one calls the game bad that I know of, except for those three people that got their cards bricked, then I can totally understand why you would say this is the worst game ever. I'm with you there. But no one said this game is terrible, or no one says this game is terrible, because it's not. You play it and it's like, I wouldn't say it's meh. I would definitely say it's good. I would say it's a 7 out of 10 so far. So far. I don't know if that number is going to change as time goes by. Maybe it'll go up higher. Maybe it'll go up lower. I don't know. Um, yeah, there's nothing that I can say really about the game that stands out, but everything that it does include, they do well. There's no major complaints. So that whole Q shit is gone, because there's nowhere near as much people playing today nowadays. Although New World is still a popular game, and people are still playing it as they should, because it's still a really cool game. And I do know several people who have bought it, played it, and then just shelved it, and that kind of worries me, because it doesn't have that. Just show, and I know more than one person who's done that. They moved on from New World pretty quickly. Everybody jumped on the hype, including myself, and then after that they gave up on it, including myself. But I'm coming back to give it another chance, because I liked it then, and I was like, you know what? I can't really remember why I stopped playing it. Turned it on recently, loved it, and I'm gonna continue playing for quite a while until I can't figure out a reason in the future why I stopped playing again. I don't know. Dungeons. I remember the only dungeon I did, we stood up to like fucking 4 or 5 in the morning. We stood up so late that one day, and it was supposed to be like a 4-man dungeon. And it was just three of us, but we actually pulled it off, and we had to fight this big Solomon Grundy looking motherfucker. I forgot his name. He was like this big gray looking dude. It was great. That was a lot of fun. That felt tense. Like I felt like I had to be really dodging and blocking, and oh man, it got a little difficult, or a lot of difficult, fighting these particular. We died several times, but there was something thrilling about that. You die, you'll recoup, you get wiped, you come back to this little area where you're just sitting around and you're like, fuck, how can we do this? How can we do this? And you got that one friend who's always in their bag, just like, maybe if I try this, maybe if I try that, maybe if I try this. And that was fun, like that. I guess that's the main reason why people do dungeons, right? Because it's like you got to figure it out. It's like this big Rubik's cube, almost. But they're still pretty generic. Once again, even though I did play that dungeon and I had a lot of fun with it, there's nothing about it that I can tell you that stands out today. And I definitely think it's something that if you've played before and you enjoyed even remotely, you should go back and give it a shot. You know what I mean? Um, Not only because I'm playing it, but because it's genuinely a good MMO, Unless you're already balls deep in another MMO, which in that case, I'm like, I get it, dude. One MMO is enough to sap away all of your fucking life. I can't imagine someone playing multiple ones. Like, that's insane to me, although I know there's people out there who do that regularly, but like, just one MMO is enough to like keep you busy for God knows how long. I do feel, I maybe call me naive or call me crazy, but I do feel like New World has the same, or it's going to have the same staying power as Bethesda's Elder Scrolls Online. I do see this game around 5 years from now. I don't want to say 10. I do want to say 10. I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like that's too ballsy. So I'm gonna play it safe and be like 5 years from now. Definitely, this game's still gonna be around. I do want to see the shit that they add to it. Maybe of course they're gonna add more dungeons and more weapons and stuff, which that's more than welcome to, but like maybe something that can pull back some older players or new players. That'd be cool too. I would love to see that. It's a great game all in all. There's nothing about it that I find offensive. I'm not that type of offensive. Not that, oh, they don't have representation for Latinos. I can say that because I'm Puerto Rican, but not that type of offensive. I meant like there's nothing about the game that's like, oh, this is the reason why I stopped playing, or I can't stand doing this. They shouldn't have this here in this MMO. You know, I'll give it a. I already told you. I can't even. You know what? It's not even fair for me to give it a score. I can't give it a score because it's an MMO. And I've only dropped all in all 130 something hours, man. I guess I got it. I see. It reminds me of these reviews that people leave on particular games. It'll be like, this man has played this game for 1,370 hours. And then the review would be like, I can't recommend this game. Are you sure? Are you sure, Bradley? Because you've played this game for 1,347 hours, bro. Or was it 74? Whatever. You've played this game for hundreds of hours. And it's like, now you don't recommend it? Because, and what about 500 hours ago? It was cool? You know, those are always weird to me. They're very weird to me, those type of reviews. But some of them get real personal. Fuck the devs. I hope, they're fucking greedy, fucking fascists. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dog. Like, take a fucking nap. Get something to eat. Recommend the game. Maybe in the future, if anything crazy happens in the sense of like maybe Amazon shuts down its servers, which I don't see happening, but hey man, you'll never know. I might come back and make like an update video or whatever the case may be. But thanks for hanging around and hearing me rant about anything but the topic that I'm supposed to be discussing. See you guys next time.